I'm a different person now. I try to act different. I try to be kind, and it just didn't work. It was an overall change for me when you finally get to the point where you just say you've had enough. And for me, like I said, it takes some kind of outside influence most of the time. It's hard to do on your own.
The Fire Within podcast. You need a sustainable plan, the right mindset, and the knowledge and inspiration to stoke the fire within. Just like the phoenix, you can burn your old habits, never turn back, and emerge completely anew. There are no shortcuts.
Welcome, Fire Within Nation. This is Fire Within Podcast, where we talk about all things nutrition, fitness, and health related. I'm your host, Brandon Woolley, joined by my co-host and producer, Joe Woolworth.
Hello.
And today's guest is a gentleman named Adam Lee. Adam Lee is a husband and a father of 4. When he's not changing diapers or keeping his 6-year-old from wiping boogers on the wall, he's trying to find babysitters to spend quality time with his wife, Meredith. He works at Hope Community Church as the production team event coordinator, which is a fancy way of saying he runs sound, coordinates with groups who want to use the spaces at the 3 campuses and around the triangle for events. Adam loves riding motorcycles, building furniture, and buying his wife purses. He's traveled all over the world, but still prefers the world at Epcot Center. He has somewhere around 15 tattoos. His favorite show is The Office, and he would rather sit at home on a Friday night. So welcome, Adam.
Hi, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Awesome, man.
So we actually had a clip from The Office on our last episode, Kelly Kapoor with her lemon cayenne water fast.
Oh, yeah. That was a rough one.
That was good stuff.
That was right around when The Office started getting bad. It took a little dip.
Yeah.
Season 8. That was the end.
Yeah.
Well, it got kind of weird when Will Ferrell stepped in.
You thought all these people they were bringing on, that it would have just blown up and just added to. It was terrible.
Still love the show, though.
Yeah. I'll still watch it once a year all the way through. Speaking of shows, I've found the greatest show of all time.
Yeah.
You know, I found out about it from a guy who's in my small group, and he was a little weary about telling me about it. And it's about mega churches. It's called The Righteous Gemstones.
Oh, I saw one episode.
Oh my gosh. Have you seen it, Joe?
I haven't, but Josh, who's a co-host on a podcast I do, says it's awesome.
It's absolutely wild.
Awesome and terrible all combined. But working at a church, I laughed so hard. I mean, I have the church in mind that it's geared after. It has to be geared after. I don't know if I can say it probably. I probably can.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's Joel Osteen, 100%.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I've been trying to get my dad to watch it. He's the pastor at a big church around here. And
I wonder if Joel Osteen has seen it.
I'm sure he has.
His staff is like
so
just
mad.
laughing behind his back.
Yeah.
And they're like, have you seen that? Pastor Joel?
He would be so mad. It's a great show.
It's out there, man.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I'm mid-30s. I actually have a birthday coming up. I don't know if it's on the 29th, so it's coming up pretty quick. But yeah, you know, when you guys reached out to me about coming on here and about transformation, first of all, I feel very honored that y'all thought about me, Joe. But I definitely transformed my life, I'd say, the last few years. Joe has known me for quite a while, but I used to be a great big fat person. And
Hey, me too.
yeah, I was a huge drug addict and alcoholic and lonely and single and getting divorces left and right and just living a terrible life.
Model citizen.
Yeah. I say all the time that there's some reason that God kept me alive through all that, because I was a walking nightmare.
Well, you're a pastor's son, so it makes
I
sense.
guess
You fit the mold.
Yeah. So I met my wife about 5 years ago. I'd say I'm really bad with time. That could be way off, but it was around then. I actually met her through church. I met her on Instagram, and that didn't work out the few times that I had met anyone else on there before. But I met Meredith, and she had just come to know the Lord on Easter Sunday, I think 6 years ago. So when we met, it was great, but she pointed out pretty quickly that I had some issues just as a friend that I had to deal with. And I had gotten, my share of DUIs and stuff in the past, but really what kind of stemmed all my progress was I stopped drinking. And that slowly but surely got everything else out of my life. I'm the kind of guy where if I start doing something, I start doing it like I put all my effort into it. So I started losing about 10 pounds a month.
Wow.
And I would eat celery instead of meals.
I miss you always having salary.
Yeah, I would have celery, baby carrots. I mean, Joe knew me. We were working together at the time where I would just walk around with a bag of celery constantly. Yeah. And I consumed a lot of celery. When I stopped eating that much celery, there was definitely the celery industry definitely felt it.
Your stock fell.
Like, what is going on in America? Yeah. But yeah, I ate a ton of celery and baby carrots and things that just had a lot of water in them. And I started seeing weight come off. And honestly, I lost probably around 120. My wife would say it was more, but I lost a lot of weight pretty quickly. And everyone that I ran into thought I had, I don't know what that surgery.
Lap band surgery.
Lap
or
band
something
surgery.
Like that,
yeah, and they would be like, "How are you doing? How was the surgery?" And I had no idea what they were talking about.
It's kind of like asking a woman, "How's the baby?" And they're not pregnant. How far along
it's
are you?
It's the exact opposite of that. Yeah, and Meredith would have to be like, "Babe, they thought you had the surgery," but. Yeah, it was a complete transformation. I was at the point where I was just fat, unhappy, drinking all the time to mask it, no children. And I met Meredith, and she had 3 kids of her own. We have an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 6-year-old. She just had a birthday. And we have a 2-year-old together. My wife's not like a GILF or anything like that. She had a daughter.
Wait, a GILF?
I mean, I don't know if I could say that. Yeah,
I don't know what the G is in this scenario.
Grandma.
Yeah. Gotcha.
She's not very old.
I was thinking girl.
Okay.
Yeah, no, she's my age.
Yeah, we're going to leave this in.
You just didn't want her to feel like, you didn't want everybody to think she was really old.
Right, I tell people, no, I don't tell people. She had a daughter very, very young in high school and is a good enough of a woman to keep her, and then met a guy and, had our son Christian. She was still pretty young and wasn't a believer, but definitely believed in keeping kids and had some morality. So I'm so grateful for that. We have our older kids who are fantastic. My daughter is a waitress around here. I'm actually going to have lunch with her after this. But son is at ECU.
That's where I went.
Yeah. So he's a great kid. He's not the typical party animal that runs over there. And then our 6-year-old is great. I pretty much have raised her since she was 1, and then her dad's been out of the picture. And then we have Judah. He's 2. And so I went from having nothing really, no reason to be proud, into meeting this incredible woman, having these kids. The kids just immediately just were drawn to me and became that dad in that role, and had to figure out how to do that. But lost all the weight, stopped drinking. I can say that, I've been sober for quite a while now, and I'm thankful for that. And it really was crazy. It was when you said that Phoenix, I got all excited. I heard that. I don't know if that's what aren't they like made of fire?
Yeah,
Firebird. Yeah.
Is that what they sound like?
Well,
did you go out
first
and
of all,
record one?
They're not real.
Oh, what do you mean, Joe?
It was tough to get an actual recording.
Santa's not real too.
So I'm going to say this. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but this is a story. So I was playing that game where you get a card and you have to describe it and people have to guess. I don't know what that
like charades or
Cards
something?
Against Humanity.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you throw your funniest answer?
Yeah. So I was playing. This fits along with. You'll see how this ties together. So I was playing and I got this card and I was telling him, I was like, all right, well, used to be around a long time ago. They're kind of like a horse. They have a horn in their head. They're extinct now. And my buddy was like, dude, I think you're talking about unicorns, but that they were never real. For some reason, I thought that unicorns, I didn't know about the flying thing and all of that. That came along. But I thought they were just horses with horns in their head, which isn't that far off. I mean,
some kind of land-bound normal.
Yeah, we have like
antlers.
rhinos and stuff. They're just whatever. With
Deer.
horns in them. This is a couple of years ago. I've wised up since then. But you mentioned the phoenixes were, and I wasn't 100% sure that
There's one
that
in
wasn't
Harry
just
Potter.
like some kind of bird.
There's also a Saturday Night Live bit where they have a Tom Petty lookalike, and she likes horse or unicorns, calls them horny horses. Anyway, it's good stuff.
So they only rise up through ashes, though. That's the thing. Why are they so tied in with change?
Well, because what happens is in order to achieve their new form, they actually almost die, turn to ash, and then from the ash, they arise anew.
That is a good story. That's good for them.
Yeah, that's good. Good for them.
So, yeah, that's where I was. I love being a dad. I love being a husband. I thought I was just at the point where I was just bound to be alone and childless, and I never thought that I would love being a father, and I adore it. I find my identity with Christ, but it's shortly after husband and father. So it's been a big change for me.
What's the strangest thing that was flushed down the toilet? But with your youngest, it's like take your.
I was trying to figure out how that had to do with my weight loss.
In the context.
Absolutely nothing.
Just cutting pieces off. No, sorry. The strangest thing, they don't flush a lot down the toilet, honestly. My 6-year-old, she's a girl. She'll do some gross things. She actually has this weird thing where she will flush in a crazy amount of toilet paper down the toilet to where she was clogging toilets everywhere. And we have a lot of toilets, but every single one of them she was clogging. And we had to go through and I had to explain like, all right, well, this is the amount of toilet paper you need to use. And I mean, we were going through toilet paper like you would not believe. She does that, and then we find spots where she'll hide Kleenexes. So at night, she'll blow her nose 100 times.
Oh, man.
Yeah, she's got a lick of something in her where she's doing this. So we had to explain to her, no, you can't do that. So we'd find boogers and Kleenexes all throughout her room. She has little spots for it. So that's probably the only weird thing going on around. Our son's kind of caged up all the time. You know, he's 1.5, 2. Yeah, almost 2. So he's always in some kind of crib or we have a gate up so he doesn't get around much.
Yeah.
He's very into shutting doors. Any door that's open, he needs to go over and shut it. So I don't know what that's about, but yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about, aside from celery, what other components of your weight loss journey were there? I mean, is there a significant mental component as well?
So I just started I would say I challenged myself more. I didn't sleep in as much. I made sure to get up. I took care of myself spiritually. I made time to read. And then I walked a lot. I know that doesn't sound big, but when you're walking, you're not doing things like eating. So I walked probably 20,000 steps a day. That's probably what I average. We were talking before about having a dog. That's one of the reasons I love having a dog, is it forces me to go outside. And so I walked a lot. My wife bought me this thing called the Perfect Push-Up.
Yeah.
Yeah, she bought it. She wanted me to look like the guy in the infomercial.
She's just watching TV. She's like,
yeah.
She wants a trophy
She's
husband.
just like, that's easy. I can get that if I order this. And so,
What was the timeline? I'm curious. When you started losing weight, did you start dating Meredith when you were still a big boy?
yeah. And she claims that really didn't affect her, which is weird because my wife is super vain. Everyone that
shots fired.
No, everyone that she'll say it to, everyone that she knows was like, "Hey, he's a big fat guy. Are you sure that you want to be with this guy?" It was like she really didn't see it, and we joked.
That's right. I remember a photo of you guys like on a first date. You showed me on your phone, and you were big.
I was I was like 4 of her.
Yeah,
honestly, we went to a movie and we sat in one of those like double seat things. It was super romantic. We barely fit. Yeah, I'd say I walked a lot. I did a lot of those power push-ups because I wanted to get there where I could finally do the program they sent. It was on this card. It was like do 19 of these and do 50 of these, and it was just a crazy amount of push-ups. So I still can't do it, but I did a lot of push-ups. I have some free weights that I lifted. So I just made sure that in the morning I got up, I didn't sleep in, I wasn't lazy. I made time every day to do something. I worked out. I made sure to walk when I didn't feel like walking. Mentally, yeah, like I said, I just put time in to read and everything else.
Wow. Now, did you ever still feel tempted during this whole process? Like when there's all these foods that you're used to around you, how do you say no to them?
I think that all goes back to just my mentality. I knew how much it would set me back. Like if I went to Conky, I love the hibachi places. Joe will tell you.
Yeah.
Which is like pure MSG covered with some kind of
it's
strange
terrible.
sauce.
You feel it, man. There's a place over there we call it's Kabuki.
That's not its name.
That's right up the street
it is.
from
Yeah.
Buck Jones.
Yeah, everyone calls it Kapoopy that works at the church.
Well, I call it something else, but we won't. But they do the noodles and the rice.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Butterfly.
But only at dinner. You don't get the noodles at lunch. They
okay.
trick you. But yeah, if I felt tempted, I just would go back to I know how many steps that I had to take to work this off. But no, honestly, I just think that I was so zoned in on losing weight and doing the right thing, and really just had, my day kind of planned out before I started that I didn't want to mess it up. So yeah, I wasn't one of those guys that would get tempted and you would find candy wrappers in the closet and stuff like that. I mean, there's times where, I definitely would go out and cheat and eat burgers and stuff like that, but I still pretty much lost the weight because, I had such a big pile of doing the right thing on this side comparatively. It kind of evened out.
Yeah. I try and coach 80-20.
Okay.
I think that's a pretty good, for most people, that's sustainable. Do you feel like you're in that range, or was it more like 95?
It was more like probably 90-10 for me. But I honestly, I lost a lot of weight, and it was pretty quick. I felt like if I was going to do it, I was going to do it quickly. Because I saw the results, and I just thought, wow, that's awesome that is something that I'm capable of doing. And as I went, I went from 44 pants down to I wear a 31 now, or something like that. So as my pants started going down, I just wasn't happy with a 36 for my height. I'm only 5'9" or something like that. So I saw that there was still a lot of work to do, and I wanted to get it done as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Now, tell us about what a typical day would have looked like when you're 120 pounds heavier eating-wise, and then what it would look like today. So let's start with the old one.
Yeah, first of all, the biggest thing was at night. Do I have to start at breakfast? Do I have to start
Sure.
I don't know the rules.
Yeah, start at breakfast.
I was never a breakfast guy, honestly. There were times if I ate, I'd stop at like Bojangles and I would get fries, and like you can order a dark dinner at Bojangles in the morning.
What is a dark dinner?
Just fat guy secrets. You can get fried chicken. Like you don't have to get a biscuit. You can get anything on their menu.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can get legs and thighs and fried chicken in the morning.
Man.
So that's what I would get if I was going to get breakfast. But I really didn't eat a lot of breakfast. Lunchtime, that's where I thrived. So I would go to Kabuki. They love me at Kabuki. If I walk in there, they like clear the tables out. They give me a special room because I went to Kabuki so much. And they're probably going to not like that this is going on a podcast, but Kabuki is so bad for you. That food is way too much for one person to eat.
Yeah.
I was going there 2 or 3 times a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I would need like a forklift to get me out of there.
I seriously
It's
did.
so good.
It was really, really good. So I'd eat there at lunch, or anywhere I went, I would look at the menu. I'd try to find the biggest thing on the menu. Even if I didn't really like that, like I would always look for the biggest amount of food because there was so much comfort that I found in food. Again, when I was that big, I really struggled with depression, and so it was so mental for me. So I'd eat the biggest thing I could for anywhere I went. If I went somewhere with like fries and a drink, I'd always try to upsize it. Just like super unhealthy and unneeded amount of food.
Now, do you think there's something in your life that stemmed that depression that preceded the weight gain?
Yeah, so I had gone through a divorce 8 years ago, probably. But before that, I was drinking heavily. And so I think it was just the choices that I made because of my addiction that I knew. And if you asked me then, I wouldn't have said I was depressed. I was one of those big, jolly, fat guys that would just say, hey, this is who I am. Like, I don't need anybody. I don't need a wife. And I'm good like this. But inside, it was terrible. I was dying. So I think it was just a lot of bad decisions that I knew that at that time, if you would have asked me, I would have said, oh, it's because, my ex-wife was a bitch and she left me and all this stuff. But honestly, I think that at the end of the day, I knew that I was the culprit, and I just carried that around with me in my decision making.
So the divorce preceded the drinking and the drugs and things like that? Or?
It definitely got heavier.
Yeah.
So I was married super young. I got my first wife, so I've been married. This is my third marriage. The first one since I've decided to make these changes, and my marriage is it's absolutely incredible. But I was married super young at 20, and she was a heavy alcoholic. I really wasn't. I would drink from time to time. I was the guy in high school that drank and was kind of a party animal, but not like that. And she was a heavy alcoholic, heavy, and it just got me into that pattern.
Yeah.
The hard thing with being somebody who will go all out for things, will go all out for losing weight, will go all out for growing spiritually, will grow all out with being a good husband and buying purses is, it can go the other way too.
Yeah.
So I started developing these patterns and just going all out with alcohol, going all out with drugs, whatever I get my hands on, whether it was pills, weed, anything.
Yeah.
I've tried it. So I just started developing patterns, and I didn't have somebody around me. Family will always tell you, hey, don't do that. But God hadn't sent me that right person for me to think like, all right, well, they're actually caring and loving enough for me to stop doing this. I had a lot of people tell me chill out, but I just thought this is who I am. So I started developing the patterns really, really early, and they just grew. Any addict will tell you that what you drank 10 years ago would not suffice for what you need to drink now to get that same high. And so I drank more and more, and back to what just my day looked like. It was the biggest thing on the menu. At dinner, it was a crazy amount of takeout from Chinese food. That was my jam. I would get Chinese food, something. If I went to the grocery store, I'd get like a family amount of food, and I'd eat that always by myself, usually at dinner. And then I would drink until I passed out. I was just so unhappy with my life that alcohol was a thing that could make me go to sleep. If you just said, hey, go to sleep, I couldn't. There's no way I'd sleep. So that's why I drink so much. The thing I drank the most was this thing called, I don't even know if they still make it, but I'm sure they do. It's this beer called Steel Reserve. Or I would just drink straight liquor, no mixers, anything like that. But there's beer called Steel Reserve, and I looked up the calories on that thing, like now that I've lost all the weight, and it's crazy. It was like the amount that I was drinking 3,000 calories a day at least.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Just in beer.
Just in beer. Yeah.
Man.
And the sugar that's in that, and just like, that's really what was making me get.
Was that a corn-based beer? Do you happen to remember?
Or wheat, maybe?
It was like trash based. It was it's that beer
fermented
that's
garbage.
just like, you can get a gallon for 49 cents.
Well, so if I remember correctly, and we may have to verify, I think around 3,500 calories equates to 1 pound. So you're adding a pound to your body almost every day of just pure beer. Now,
I remember waking up and jeans that I wore the day before wouldn't fit. Like
wow.
it just the
So
amount
much
that I was
inflammation
eating.
and bloat, and then more weight gain.
Yeah.
That's
That
pretty
was
wild.
gross.
Now, today, are you absolutely abstinent from alcohol, or is it just more controlled
Oh no, I don't drink at all.
at all? And then
I've realized that if I start drinking, it's not a good thing
now,
for me.
Now, I've had a lot of alcoholism in my family. Was AA involved at all? Or,
Yeah, I still go to AA from time to time.
Yeah.
I definitely I actually went to a 90-day treatment facility, and it was good. It was great for me. It was super humbling because it was a really hard decision for me to do. I'm a grown man and thought that I could control it, and I learned I really couldn't. I learned a lot about myself in that treatment facility.
Wow. 90 days, man.
Yeah, it was rough. No, sorry, it wasn't 90 days. It was a 28 day. Sorry.
Felt like 90.
Thank you, 90
Felt like
days.
90, yeah.
That's your two options. You have a 28 day and a 90 day. Sorry, I wasn't thinking. 28 days, pretty much a month. Did it help me? I wasn't the guy that got in there and was like, dude, I can't, function. I need medication. I'm losing my, coordination skills. I wasn't addicted. I didn't come off of anything like that. But it was 28 days where it sucked and I was away from the people I loved. And Dude, I had time where I could just focus and learn about myself, honestly. And then I did AA. I did my 90 and 90, which is basically you go to 90 meetings in 90 days, pretty much a meeting every day, which is super hard to do when you have a full-time job and you have family and you have, everything else going on. But you can either get a pamphlet which has meetings in the area every day, or you get you go online and look them up, and there's meetings everywhere. But you go to a meeting and some days it sucks. Most days it sucks, honestly. But I did that and I'm grateful for that. And then I don't go every day now, but I try to go, and when I can. And I have friends that I've met in those meetings, and I have a sponsor that I talk to a lot. So that's pretty much I'll always love AA. There's times where I'll tell my wife, hey, I need to get to a meeting today, just if I'm having a bad day. But AA is a program that is incredible, is full of loving people that have no ulterior motives, and it's free to people that need help, and I'd highly recommend it.
Yeah. How long have you been abstinent from alcohol at this point?
So I had a little bit of a hiccup. I drank once. It was over a year ago. I don't know the exact time. It's been about a year and a half, and before that, it was another year and a half or so. So it's probably been, I'd say, I drank once in the past 3 years, I would say. Before that, it was really just a time of me having to figure out, all right, well, I can't use this to cope. And I had, quit drinking every day for sure. But there were definitely times where I was still trying to sneak it and do things like that. It was a really hard thing for me to do. I drank since I was, 16. And so to take that out of my life was a super tough thing to do. And so I was trying to do it on my own. I would say until I went to that 28-day program, that really was the thing that made me think I never want to come here again. And my wife is super supportive.
So she's been with you through that whole process.
Yeah, she does not take any shit, and she does not pull any punches. She is a bulldog when it comes to me being sober. Yeah. She will not allow it, and honestly, it saved my life. I had a lot of loving people around me who told me alcohol was bad, but honestly, nobody that I love my parents, I love my family, nobody that it mattered enough to me to lose until I met my wife. So, I lost wives before that until God put this lady in my life. It really didn't stop me from doing anything. And now, I look back on it and I think, gosh, I don't know how I could live that way again. It's a different thing for different people. You got to get that one thing where it's either, some people it's just they get tired of it one day. But most people, it'll take something else where they think, all right, well, I can't lose this. Whether it's a job that you started and you realize that your alcohol or your drugs are getting in the way of that, or whether it's, a family, whether it's a child that you have, a little baby. My kids, I have these stepsons, or I have a stepson and 2 stepdaughters, and they're awesome, and I love them. But I tell you what, having a baby with this woman that I love and being in that process and watching that child be brought into this earth, that'll change you. So it's just a combination of stuff. My wife, if she thinks I've been drinking, she'll tell me. And as somebody who's drank a lot and has lied to her before, you end up just having to put up with a lot of questioning. You learn that, all right, well, they have the right to do that, and it sucks. Because you want to just say, no, I'm not drinking, leave me alone. But it definitely is part of the whole thing. So, yeah.
No, I think a lot of our listeners either themselves or know somebody who's struggled with, I think alcohol addiction is very prevalent.
Yeah.
What piece of advice would you tell them to get started of getting clean with that?
The easiest thing to do, honestly, is just hit a meeting. It can seem super scary and overwhelming, but I'm telling you, the people that are in these meetings are people who are there, number one, to stay clean, stay sober, but want to, a close second, want to help people who are dealing with the same shit they did. I have never been to a meeting where I thought these people should not be in here. I have seen tons of new people come in and just be loved. I mean, sometimes it's too much love. Like I've been to meetings where I've been clean for a while, and I'll go into a meeting and people think I'm just getting clean. They will come up and hug you and and it's just like, just back off, come on. But the people in these meetings. I've been involved in church for a long time, and the people in these meetings will make you rethink, if you're a believer and you go to church and you've seen that, what you think about love. Like, they do it the right way. And it's a selfless thing. But I would say get to a meeting, honestly. It's easy to start from there. They'll tell you how to do it. They'll come alongside you. And the things that come from it, man, are great. Like the weight loss, the stuff like that, the stuff that just happens. Because, man, or, the weight gain for a lot of people.
Right.
Right.
Especially if there's like cocaine or anything like that involved.
But you have a lot of alcoholics who that's all they'll put in their body. And they'll lose a ton of weight, and they look sickly as hell. The weight gain, just the health that'll come, that's a big change for a lot of people. But yeah, man, get to a meeting, and they'll tell you what to do. They'll ask you if it's your first meeting, and it's easy steps from there.
Yeah, I did want to take a minute and just let the listeners know, the affiliate group is Al-Anon, and that's for the family members.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the person with the drinking issue isn't willing to go. But Al-Anon's for the families, and that can give you a whole new life and outlet. They have their own meetings. They have a kind of like a committee type. And so you can get involved with that, go to conferences, and it's just a tremendous amount of support. So even if the person with the issue in your family isn't willing to go, there's a huge support network for the family itself.
Yeah, my dad went. He probably dealt with me the hardest. He went probably a handful of times. It was super helpful for him, especially when I was in that 28-day thing. But gosh, Al-Anon is so helpful. I've heard stories of people that are married to addicts that have gone to Al-Anon for 40 years, stuff like that. And again, if you've been living with somebody who's struggling with that, yeah, you're correct. Al-Anon is incredible for them.
Good stuff. So we'll link that in the show notes for sure. All right. So we've talked a little bit about you overcoming, the alcoholism. We've talked about your weight loss, right? Before we were trying to get that picture of what today looks like now.
Yeah. So what do you want? What do you want to know?
Breakfast, lunch, dinner. What are your beverages like?
Okay. What's my day look like?
Do you exercise?
Yeah. So I wake up usually between 6, probably around 6. I'd say sometimes 5:45. Get up before my kids get up because they're crazy. So I get up pretty early. My wife is a sleeper, so she'll sleep in. But I get up, I go downstairs. I've got some weights in my garage and push-ups. I'm dealing with this bad back thing right now, so it's kind of hard to do. But I make it a point to get up. I start the coffee. I get down there. I lift some weights. I do some push-ups. I'll take the dog out, feed it, get up, read my Bible for about 30 minutes. Then I take my dog on a walk. I take my dog for a walk like 4 times a day. And I go out for, 20, 25 minutes. I walk a lot. I don't do a lot of running. I think it's terrible. And honestly, I'm able to keep the weight off just with doing the stuff that I do. I'll either pack a lunch or go somewhere. I honestly, since I've lost this weight, I don't know if this is a good thing, but my metabolism is crazy. So I can pretty much eat what I want to. I'll eat pizza. My wife makes fun of me because I'm such a slob. But since I've lost this weight, I can eat whatever I want. The biggest thing for me was cutting out alcohol, I think.
Yeah.
And my body, I weigh around 168, 170, somewhere in there. And man, I'll go on a cruise and I'll get up to 171, but
everybody hates you right now.
Right, yeah, it sucks, and I know it won't last forever. But honestly, I eat terribly. And then there's times where I'll skip meals and stuff like that for sure. There's times where I'll eat salads, yeah, but there's definitely more times where I'll eat a lot of pizza and a burger with fries and stuff like that. And Halloween was crazy for me. I ate a lot of candy, man. We had 3 bowls of candy and my wife tasked me with sitting and handing out candy at the door, I had my phone and I was watching Goliath. You ever seen that show?
No, I hadn't.
Oh, it's on Showtime. It's Billy Bob Thornton. It's so good. You should watch that show if you're listening. Anyways, I ate a bowl and a half of candy just sitting there. And so I can eat terribly now, but I think with my body now getting down to the size it should be and a healthy weight, and me making sure that I'm diligent and taking care of it and walking and doing the things that I need to do to stay, strong and everything else. And I'm constantly moving. I would say that if I'm at work, I'm walking, I'm going, I can't sit down. If I'm at home, I'm cleaning, I'm doing something. And so I think just not being lazy, just not sitting around is a big thing for me that I've seen. And
Yeah, movement is so important. We had David Allen on episode 5 talking about his snacks program that just has to do with even 5-minute bouts of movement. I actually advocate walking over running. I used to be a marathon runner, and during that time I had knee surgery, I had shin splints, I was at the ortho at least once a month.
Yeah.
Just horrendous for my body. I'm grateful that it taught me, tolerance to exercise. But so I think it's perfect that you're walking. And for our listeners, I think walking is one of the best things you could do, especially outside. Another great reason to get a dog, like you mentioned. You're getting that UV ray, which helps with depression because it'll boost vitamin D, which is a precursor to serotonin. You're getting that exposure to the outdoors. You're getting lymph fluid moving so that you could detoxify your body. And there's a great deal of detoxification that comes when you're getting off alcohol and things like that. So some of these small things, I don't know if you've thought about it, but it's like the perfect recipe for what you need to do. And these are all doable. It's just more movement.
right.
Yeah, it's not like you have to go do CrossFit every day.
Right.
And I just think that's awesome.
Yeah. And honestly, it's different for everybody. Some people love CrossFit. I'm not the strongest guy. Some people want to be that. If you want that for your body, that's great. I wanted to be at a place where I was healthy and I would live long enough for my kids and for my wife. I didn't want to develop diabetes and have heart conditions. And I just wanted to stay around for a long time. And so for me, this works. I don't think that everybody could have the time to walk their dog 4 times a day, but some people, going to the gym every day is the thing. But for me, it works perfect. And I've been able to keep the weight off.
I got to admit, I feel guilty. I'm like a super helicopter dad with my dog. I don't have kids. I just have her. And I thought like I was the super dad because I'm, 30 minutes a day. I promised her 30 minutes a day. And here you are 4 times a day for 20, 30 minutes. I need to step up my game. So hopefully my dog's not listening right now.
Oh, man, it doesn't help. My dog is... We were talking to her, and my dog is terrible. So she definitely needs a lot. She is a Raider Swiss Mountain Dog mixed with a white lab, and she just got the bad traits from both those dogs. She's a nightmare. My wife can't stand her, but I love her. I can't get rid of her.
Yeah.
You're going to get rid of her.
No, don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, they're worth it. I like dogs better than people most days.
Yeah. I like people.
I like people too. Digging a hole, digging a big old hole.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So both of you guys have lost a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
Do you often think about that, the difference? Do you just, when you see yourself in the mirror, do you just like, yeah, you do? Like,
yeah.
You're looking all right, my friend.
I do. For a while, and I didn't look good naked, but I would go up and I would tell, man, I look great naked now. And I was still like 60 pounds heavier. It didn't look good. I think I've told you that before.
Did you lose so much weight that you had like skin issues? Like the skin needed to shrink up?
I have some weird like skin, like it's not at the point where I needed like skin surgery or anything, which I'm grateful for. My skin was pretty elastic. It's probably not like normal skin. I have some areas where, I definitely lost a lot of weight. And so there was just some reshaping, but I don't know if a surgery in the future will be needed. Meredith talked to me about it. I don't have like crazy, just like what they call aprons. They call that for people who lose a lot of weight.
Or like Fat Bastard and Austin Powers.
Yeah. Or they call it the fat bastard.
It's a scientific name.
I didn't get it.
That's the Mike Myers character.
I didn't get it, but I'm close, but I don't know if there's some kind of reconstruction or what.
I only, like, if I'm standing, you'd never know, other than maybe some stretch marks. But if I get up like in a push-up position, then it'll hang down.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I'm like,
It
God, I would never do push-ups naked in front of someone.
Yeah.
But if I'm standing, I look
Well,
great.
there's really not a big reason or
with a
demand
tank
for that.
top. Naked except a tank top, then you'd be awesome, man.
There you go. But, honestly, people ask me that all the time, and the end of the day, who cares?
Right.
I feel better. I have more energy. I'm fit. I'm strong. I can do things. I have confidence.
Yeah.
So if anybody's worried about that, I think that's the least thing to be worried about.
Do you have, so it's been 8 years you've kept the weight off, correct?
Yeah.
Do you ever,
That's awesome.
does it ever just seem like less of a big deal now? Is this the new normal for you? Or do you still have that sense of like, I can't go back to the...
So if I get into like a couple weeks of cheats, like we talked about before I do that, twice a year I try to do a detox. I'll start I could see it come back on pretty quick. And I'll start to get nervous and I go, I can't go back. Or if I have like a small injury that's keeping me from my usual workout routine, I start to panic a little because I don't ever want to go back. And I don't think I ever will. But
how long did it take you to lose all the weight? And then how long did it take you, Adam? People can't see me
point at
pointing.
me. Yeah, that was a very aggressive point.
you over there.
How long did it take you, Brandon, to lose weight?
It's a funny question because at first I just lost a ton of any kind of weight and I lost a lot of lean muscle tissue while running. And that's when I dropped the 84 pounds. But then I put on about 22 pounds of muscle, and looked way better. I was kind of skinny fat. But that period, probably two years, something like that. It was 1 to 2 pounds a week. And then putting on the 22 pounds of muscle took another probably 2.5 years of dedicated strength training, learning about protein and nutrition. Because at first I knew nothing about nutrition. I just knew if I ran, I could eat whatever I want and I'm still going to lose weight.
Yeah.
And that was part of, I had a running addiction. It actually, you know what? I was married too and divorced. I think a good part, aside from my charming personality, of that divorce was all the time and effort and addiction I had with running. Because we would have weekends together, because I was living in another city teaching, and we were only together for the weekend. I would spend an entire Sunday doing my long run. I forgot where we're going with this.
You said, I was just asking how long
he
it
was
took.
just pointing, and
I was just randomly pointing angrily
Yeah.
to speak.
Angrily pointing. But
So you were saying how long it took to lose the weight?
yeah. So 2.5 to lose the weight, 2.5 more to get my body to look the way I wanted.
Yeah. Adam, it was fast for you, wasn't it? It was like a year.
Yeah, it was like a year. Well, it was honestly like 10 pounds a month. And so it was a year and a couple months, maybe completely. And then it just stopped. I mean, I maybe got down to 160, 165, something like that. But right now, I weighed myself this morning. I was 168, And it's crazy, though. I'll lose like 4 pounds overnight. I don't know what's going on at night. I'll lose 4 pounds, man.
You just wake up and sleepwalk for like
Tell me about
all night
that.
long.
Why am I losing weight at night?
Yeah. Yeah, so your body is doing all kinds of repair, and your metabolism can be pretty active while you sleep. So you're probably burning a good bit of calories. In fact, they did a lot of studies. What burns more fat, spin class or sleeping? And actually, the group that increased the amount of REM sleep they were having would lose more weight than the group actually exercised. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, but you could fluctuate. I would fluctuate up to 8 pounds a day when I was a runner. So within a 24-hour period. So, if you've drinking, if you've eaten, as your body is repairing itself.
If you're wet in the bed.
If you're wet in the bed, you could lose a good half a pound. Kinds of reasons.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Probably a year, under a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty wild. I'm looking. I didn't really know what you looked like before now, and I just can't picture it.
Oh, it's weird. I don't. Can I say it? I'm going to say it. I looked like a lesbian, like a big lesbian.
Oh, my God.
I wore a lot of plaid.
We might cut this one.
And I just had very pretty feminine features. Yeah. I definitely had the man boobs thing going on.
Boobs.
So, yeah. You
So
can cut that.
Go ahead, Joe.
No, I didn't have anything to say.
so quick thing with man boobs, officially termed gynecomastia. Typically, that's an estrogen thing, and we get that from beer. So beer can contain a lot of estrogen and contribute to man boobs.
Oh,
Yeah. So
that's why.
yep, soy things
That's
like
right. I
that.
stored my beer.
Yep. Sometimes artificial sweeteners, things like that, aspartame. But yeah, so avoiding those kinds of things, and the man boobs can go away unless that's your thing.
Unless that's your thing.
So it's a small crowd out there. Awesome, man.
Who am I to judge? Oh man. So you probably kind of answered some of these, but do you feel like you've tried some shortcuts for transformation in the past that didn't pan out in the long run?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I guess, I would try to limit my consumption of alcohol. I guess that's a shortcut.
As opposed to saying, hey, I have a problem and I need to cut it out.
Right. I would try to limit it. I would say, all right, well, only from this time to this time on this day. On Fridays, only on the weekends I'll drink. And it was hard. It didn't work, With my weight stuff, there was a time where I would try to. Our seats are very close together, Joe.
You're welcome.
You want to play footsie?
8 years ago, we would have taken up this whole room.
You're not wrong.
With the weight stuff, I would go into spurts where I would just say, all right, I'm sick of this, right? I'm sure you experienced that. And you would just go all out and you would think, all right, I'm going to eat healthy. And you don't see it after 2 days and you give up. I did that a million times. It's for me, for spirituality, with just taking time, I would go a week and say, all right, well, I'm a different person now. I'd try to act different. I'd try to be kind. And it just didn't work. It was an overall change for me when you finally get to the point where you just say you've had enough. And for me, like I said, it takes some kind of outside influence most of the time. It's hard to do on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you're saying about 2 days of staying on it and then you don't see the results.
Yeah.
And a lot of my clients would get frustrated. And when you're talking about hormonal change and resetting the metabolism, sometimes weight loss is the last thing to change. But underneath, physiologically, the changes are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Estrogen levels are balancing, insulin levels are normalizing, and then they give up because they didn't see the number change on the scale. In fact, I just lost a client because she tried a couple new things for 1 week, and she said, "Well, I didn't really see a difference," and she got frustrated.
Yeah.
She's like, "I'm going to take a break," and it happens. But these things do take consistency and a long time.
Yeah.
So if you're consistent with the changes, even if the first thing you see isn't weight loss, there are things changing.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Next question. Man.
Yeah. So what processes or strategies do you wish you would have put in place sooner, and why?
I don't know if there was one thing that, like I said, it's an overall thing. I don't know if changing one thing, or I feel like for me it was such a combination of stuff. I'm putting my hands together to show a weave with my fingers for those of you that can't see me. And they're coming together and it's complete now. It was such a combination of stuff. I don't know if any one thing or one aspect that I did to have life, if I didn't have the spiritual change, if I wasn't making sure that I woke up to spend time for me, treat yourself. That's how I treat myself. If I didn't do one thing, I don't know if this would have worked. And so to change one aspect early on, I don't think it would have been beneficial.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, actually, when you started talking about your day, I think I was starting to see a pattern of things, that daily habits now that are helping, like the Bible study, getting your mind right, doing that early in the morning before things get in the way.
Yeah.
And taking the dog on the walk. So it sounds like you already have some habits established and in place.
Yeah.
So the last question I always ask our guests,
Oh, I'm excited.
and this is talking directly to our listeners.
Yeah.
What are the top 3 things you would have somebody change to create a transformation in their lives? What are the top 3 things you would tell them?
Top 3 things. Number 1, develop boundaries. I had to learn that. I still suck at it sometimes. And there's some people in my life that I just let have a pass and just say, all right, well, they've earned it, whether it's family or other people, but developing boundaries is a huge thing. There's actually a book out there called Boundaries. I don't know who wrote it. It's like an old book.
Boundaries.
We can link that in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll put
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's a great book. It just talks about basically there's some life suckers out there and just respecting yourself and creating time for yourself. My wife is big into it, and she's right all the time when she brings it up. It's not being rude. It's just about creating time for yourself. So developing boundaries is the number one transformation. I think it's a huge struggle for people. I would say that, and this can be a little bit odd for me to say because people that know me right now know that I eat pretty poorly, but there was a large portion of time for me where I ate really healthy. I would say make some replacements. I think as Americans, we eat way too much. We eat way too much crap. Find some healthy alternatives out there. There's celery is actually really good. Like it may not be celery for you,
Yeah.
but there's baby carrots. Have you ever tried those little like sweet pea pods?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
those.
Eat something like that. Get hooked
Yeah.
on something healthy like that. Because
And-
there are some super edamame. Like get hooked on that and develop some changes in your eating habits. Whether it's like late night snacks, I don't know. Just pop your own popcorn and do it the healthy way.
Yeah.
But start just thinking about ways that, because if you're a parent out there, you have kids that are going to develop these issues and they may not have the self-control with some of the stuff that you do. And it may be detrimental to them. If you're not a parent, you might be a parent one day. So, develop these issues now so that you can teach your kids. But I would say the second one would be food habits. And the third one for me, I think is super important. It's just spirituality. Finding something. It may not be reading the Bible for you, but taking time and finding there's a huge aspect of knowing yourself. And for me, I definitely believe there's something else out there. But investigate for yourself. Don't be a dull person when it comes to that. Don't be one of those people that just say, I don't care. Like, transform yourself in that way because it creates, number one, you'll be able to have conversations better, but you'll be able to understand yourself a lot more. So I would say transform yourself spiritually.
That's great advice. Just while I'm thinking about it, some of the replacements, maybe you don't like celery by itself, but I like goat cheese on celery.
Yeah. Remember frogs on,
Ants
it's
on a
called-
log?
Yeah, but honestly, it should be called frogs on a log. Look, if you look at the size of the log, ants aren't that big. Frogs rhyme, and they
Like
look more
sesame
like
seeds,
frogs, right?
Frogs on a log. Yeah.
We're going to start a campaign.
Right?
Frog on a log.
Frogs on a
Changed my
log.
mind.
Make me a shirt. I'm
Oh
just
my
saying.
gosh.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah. Oh, and since it's the holiday season, Michael Bublé came out of his cave, so it's the holiday season. I actually found a pretty darn healthy, not necessarily healthy, but eggnog.
Yeah?
It's a brand called Califia Farms. And not like Wiz Khalifa, but
That's not healthy.
but it's almond milk. It's only got 8 grams of sugar, which is absurd for eggnog. There's no corn syrup, no carrageenan, no vegetable oil. It's awesome. And it tastes solid. It tastes like a solid eggnog.
Cool.
So yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, that was my 2 cents.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. Yeah, give it a shot. Got lots of other good ideas. But you know what I found is any unhealthy food, I can make it healthy.
Yeah.
And what I've started to do is like my favorite sauces and things, I'll look on the back, I'll snap a photo of the ingredient list, and I'll just replace the ones I don't like. Like if it has
Yeah.
corn syrup or vegetable oil, I'll replace the corn syrup with either stevia or cane sugar, which is better than corn syrup. And instead of the vegetable oil, I'll switch it out with coconut oil or olive oil. And even desserts. I mean, there's nothing I found yet that I can't recreate healthier. And there's so many good options out there now. So it's not like you have to give up all the foods. Like I love chicken wings. Love them.
Yeah.
And
What do you replace the chicken wings with?
Well, I still buy chicken wings.
Okay.
But instead of frying them in vegetable oil, I'll mix olive oil and Frank's Red Hot sauce. I'll make buffalo wings. They're amazing.
Okay.
So good.
That's a good idea.
100% approved. Nothing
Cool.
bad in them. But you can recreate anything if you just take 10 seconds to do a quick Google search. I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your life experiences and being so open.
Yeah.
And your humor. And I think our listeners will get a lot out of this episode.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. This was fun.
Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you got a lot of value out of today's episode. If you did, go check us out at firewithinnf.com. You can subscribe to our newsletters and make sure you never miss an episode or any other content. Also, be sure to follow us on social media.